Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching from. Welcome to Onwards and Upwards, the show where you learn everything you need to know about living and working in the United States as a healthcare professional. I am your host today. My name is Deirdre O'Regan. I am the Senior Director of Recruitment here at AMN International, and very excited to have our monthly immigration show. Our two expert guests will be very familiar faces to you, but if you are new here, we will have them introduce themselves. So first of all, we love to know where you are calling in from. So please put in the chat here. We have Tony from Nairobi. Welcome, Tony. We have Hazel from Zimbabwe. Welcome, Hazel. So continue to do that throughout the show today. And also pop your questions into our chat. We will get to as many as we can today. And for those that we do not, we'll pop in routinely throughout the day and try and get those answered for you. So lots and lots of questions coming in already. But before we bring out our panel, I do want to take the opportunity again to wish you all a very happy International Nurse Day, which we celebrated earlier this week. So for those of you who are listening in, congratulations. We celebrated you this week. We celebrate you all the time. And also it is Nurses Month. So I wanted to give you an opportunity for us to say thank you for all you do, for everything that you do to support your patients' families, and your communities, wherever you are in the world. So again, welcome to the show. This is AMN International, the only organization that offers both direct hire and staffing opportunities. So throughout our show, we're going to be putting up a handle for you to apply. So if you have not taken the opportunity to apply yet, please do so today. Apply at amnhealthcare.com/international. So I know that we did not see movement in the visa bulletin this week, but we are going to talk about that as soon as we bring our panel of guests out. But don't let that deter you. So please make sure that you are applying today, that you are asking your questions so that you can be best prepared on taking the next step forward. So with that, we are going to bring our expert panel in today. So we have got Mike Hammond and Chris Musillo. Welcome to you both. Thank you so much for joining us again today. We haven't seen you in a few weeks, Chris, so very happy that you could join us today. Welcome, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Deirdre.
Thank you. Okay, so for those of you who may be new to our show, I do want to give our panel an opportunity to introduce themselves, and then we will get right into your many questions that are coming into the chat. So we'll start with Mike.
Yeah, my name's Mike Hammond. I'm based here in Cincinnati, Ohio. I've been doing healthcare immigration for about a number of years, which is a little bit longer than Chris.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, over to Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Deirdre. Thanks, Mike. Good to see everybody. I'm Chris Musillo. I'm a business and healthcare immigration attorney, also in Cincinnati. And yeah, looking forward to all the questions today.
Thank you so much to you both for joining us. And so we'll get kicked off with the question that we ask at the top of every immigration show. So the visa bulletin came out earlier this week. We did not see movement. Mike, were you surprised by that, or was that expected?
Well, I wasn't surprised that we didn't see any movement. We saw a little bit of backward movement in some of the categories that would not be relevant to healthcare. So that was a little disappointing. I think probably the most piece of information I think was that came out that I found interesting for the healthcare cases was the notes in the back, which indicated that the Philippines has almost met their yearly quota, and that we will likely see retrogression or unavailability for the rest of the year, which is not unusual, but we were certainly hoping that with all the things happening, we would see a little bit more movement. So, but overall, not surprised.
Thank you, Mike. Same question to you, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I'd echo more or less everything that Mike said. The note at the end did say that the Philippines EB3, as Mike noted, will likely become unavailable or retrogress. Also, I don't really think that's any major concern. I think really what happened, Deirdre, is at the beginning of this calendar year, so in January, the U.S. Government essentially created a public charge rule, which effectively paused immigrant visa processing from about 70 countries. I don't want everybody to confuse that with the previous visa ban rule that went in 2025 that affected about 35 to 40 countries. In any event, this visa pause affected 70 countries, some of which are high supply countries for U.S. nurses, some of which aren't. Like, for instance, the Philippines was not on this visa pause public charge rule. And so what ended up happening was in January, February, March, those months, I think the U.S. government was uncertain just how many visas were going to be impacted by this visa pause. And so it took a few months to sort out, and they probably overshot a little more, not a lot more, than they expected when they moved the visa bulletin so forward in February, March. And so what we're seeing now, based on the fact that there was really no movement this month, and then, as Mike said, the Philippine note and some of the other notes at the end of the visa bulletin, it's essentially the U.S. government saying, we're probably a little ahead of schedule. Therefore, expect a slowdown in employment-based visa numbers for the rest of the fiscal year, which would be June, July, August, September. And then they didn't comment on anything come October. And so that's probably the next time we would see a significant news out of the visa bulletin.
Thank you so much, Chris. So thank you for taking the time to explain the pause and the ban again. As you can imagine, we have lots and lots of questions in the chat from healthcare professionals who are in that situation. So Mike, on our last show, we talked about that when those paused countries would be revisited, for want of a better word, or have more regulation around it. Do we still expect that to happen in June?
Well, there's a couple things going on. One is the revisit relates to the 39 banned countries, and that is supposed to be at the 6-month mark, and those were issued, I think, sometime in like late December. So that should be sometime May, June. The pause countries, as Chris referenced, which affect the public charge rule, we've been expecting kind of any day now, but in the government terminology, any day could be months, for them to come out with some rules and move to a case-by-case test, almost like they did during the first Trump term for 45s, and also some consular cases. They created some new forms and some new tests and new disclosures of financial information and things like that. And once they do that, then we expect the interviews and all the 221Gs and hold up from those 75 countries to start moving again, at least on a case-by-case basis. And we fully expect that nurses who already have a job lined up, a job that's paying higher than prevailing wage, likely are going to have no trouble with the new standards. But they haven't been released yet, so we could get them today, but we could also be sitting here in September and having the same discussion. There is nothing definitive.
Thank you very much, Mike. So we'll have updates for you as soon as we receive them. I know that there's a lot of questions surrounding that topic, and we'll get to as many as we can. But Francis is asking a question for Chris. What is the advice for someone who is on the banned list? And I'm going to try and summarize this question, but now has citizenship of another country. What happens considering the initial application was made as a citizen of a banned country?
Yeah, so I think that's a really good question. I think the first thing, of course, is they want to run this by their immigration attorney. But if that second citizenship is from a non-banned country, they probably can move ahead with their case. So they would want to get with an immigration attorney, inform them that they now have this other passport. I'm working on the presumption that the other passport is not one of the banned countries, and they very likely can move ahead with their case. But there may be some steps that need to be taken, which is why they should talk to their immigration attorney.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for that question, Francis. Mike, there's a lot of questions in the chat about interviews and interviews not being scheduled at particular embassies in particular countries. Does that happen routinely around this time of year, or what should they expect in regarding timelines? And I understand that each embassy is different, so if you have any feedback on that.
Yeah, so a couple things. Obviously, as we enter into the summer months, it's a little no different than the entering into the holiday time frame. There tends to be a little bit of slowdown because you have, embassy officials are just like everyone else. They have a lot of things going on. They take more time off. They go on vacation. They go through rotations, et cetera. So that's one impact. We also obviously have all these changing of rules where consulates are being asked to do additional things. So instead of a case being finished, now the case has a 221G. Now the case sits and gets reviewed again. So a variety of things are impacting consulates. But I think the reality is your case is pretty specific. You're at a specific consulate, and you need the information about that specific consulate. And so the best thing you can do is reach out to your case manager and reach out to your attorney. Now, one thing is, do not expect that if your priority date is current and it only became current in April, that you would have an interview by now. You're not. I would say the earliest that I've seen interview availabilities with priority dates just become current is more like 90 days. Now, I'm sure there's some exceptions, particularly for those who have where you can schedule yourself. You have some more flexibility there. But for the ones who are not, after you become current, I would say 90 days is the earliest I would have any expectation.
Thank you, Mike. Very helpful. So Mike has just given an estimated timeline, so hopefully that helps everybody here. And there's a follow-up question, which I'll give to Chris. And we have seen some embassies close just due to circumstances around the world. And is there an option to transfer processing to another location that may be scheduling faster than other embassies, or maybe closed due to what's happening, particularly in the Middle East? Is it possible to move processing, Chris?
Yeah, so the answer is yes. In most instances, you can switch the embassy that you are going to present to and have your interview. A couple of things to keep in mind. One, often switching embassies is a lengthy process, but if you are in, let's say, one of the Gulf countries, the switching embassies might make a lot of sense, because with the situation going on now in the Gulf, in Iran, in the Persian Gulf, if you have, for instance, Philippine nationality, it may very well make sense for you to switch your case to the Philippines. Having said that, I know the Philippines is backed up, many months, so it may or may not make sense. So you will want to discuss this with your attorney and your case manager. But as a general sense, you are allowed to switch to any country that you are a resident of, or a citizen of. But I always caution not taking that decision lightly, because it does take effort to move embassies. So just make sure you're bringing everybody together and you don't just make that decision on your own, because there may be information about the embassy you're thinking of going to that your case manager or your attorney know about that maybe you're not aware of. So, but yes, to answer the question, you can switch embassies.
Thank you. There are a lot of questions coming in regarding AMN requirements, etc. So I will make sure that I take some time at the end of the show to address those questions with you. So keep them coming, and I'll get to as many as I can. Kubi is asking a question. I'm going to switch gears a little bit from embassies, but we can get back to that later if there are additional questions that we can help answer. So Kubi is asking Mike a follow to join question. We get this quite routinely on our shows. So she's asking, is there a time limit? Can her husband join her after a year, currently schooling, and would like to finish his qualifications prior to arriving in the U.S.?
Well, I think we need to clarify something. Follow to join is kind of a legal concept that's generally done when someone is adjusting their status here in the U.S. and then has family members that are coming in after. But from the way the email or the question is asked, I don't think that's what she's talking about. I think she's talking about she is overseas getting her visa stamp, and her spouse is either interviewed with her and has a visa stamp and is waiting to come in, or is maybe not even going to the interview. First of all, best case scenario is the spouse goes to the interview with you, gets a visa stamp at the same time as you do. And then the visa stamp itself is good for 6 months, or it can be shortened depending on the medical exam. But generally speaking, let's call it 6 months. You got to enter in during that time frame. And then they can, of course, return back and finish school. That's not a problem. And that would be best case scenario. If they didn't go to the interview with you, and then you're looking to have them come later, a year later or something, I would probably reach out to, the spray isn't your agency's issue, it's a personal issue. Reach out to an attorney that can assist you to make sure that happens. But I'm reading into the question a little bit, but I'm guessing what they're asking for. And in theory, if the relationship was valid, the timing could happen 5 years later, 8 years later, 20 years later.
Thank you so much, Mike. And that's why we have the experts to clarify those questions that can sometimes be a little confusing as they come in. So, Chris, we have a question on alternate routes if EB3 retrogression continues or extends, which we've already talked about what we think is going to happen for the rest of the fiscal year. We talked about the Philippines closing in on their quota. What other alternate routes are available besides EB3?
Well, I mean, it's going to be specific to the person and specific to the employer, the company that hires you. I can say as a general rule of thumb, if there were, I mean, certainly if you were working with our firm, certainly if you're working with Mike's firm, there probably aren't any great answers. If there was a way to expedite this, we would all be doing it. If there was some XYZ visa, that would be the visa option that we would choose for you. I think it's worth exploring with your employer and exploring with your attorney if there are other options. But as a broad rule of thumb, the EB3 is where 80-90% of nurses from overseas come into the United States. It is a 3-ish year process right now. I'm not trying to sugarcoat and make it sound like it is a quicker process than it is. But I am here to tell you that it is the most common way for folks to come to the United States. The H-1B, for instance, is something that a lot of us had been using robustly through about September of last year. That is currently unavailable effectively if you're overseas. It is available sometimes if you're in the United States. Even when it was available, it was still used in only certain situations. It remains, I bet we'll have a question on H-1B, and I'll save the updates that Mike and I have for that when we get to that. But again, as a broad rule of thumb, the EB3 is the primary way. If you're Canadian, if you're a Mexican citizen, Singaporean, we don't see many, Chilean, Aussie, there may be some other avenues for those trade visas. But again, by and large, assuming you have a good recruiter like an AMN and a good law firm like Mike or our firm, we're probably choosing the best process or the quickest process for you.
Thank you so much, Chris. And yes, Mike and Chris have joined us every month for many years, and the advice that they give is fantastic. They give their time every single month to make sure that you have the most up-to-date information and accurate information. But again, you'll hear Mike and Chris say you also have to check with your case manager and your individual attorney if you are not working directly with Mike and Chris, because every situation is different. And we try to give as much general information as we can. But if there are specifics to your particular case, then please follow the advice of Mike and Chris and connect with your personal attorney as well. So Chris had mentioned that the process is approximately 3 years right now for EB3. So Mike, we get this question a lot. So just as a follow-up, we have John who's asking the question. We have Ashley who's asking the question. How long is it taking right now to process an EB3 for an approval?
Yeah, so I-140s are taking right now close to 2 years to be processed under the regular processing. People ask, and I think there was a comment or a question posed about the issue of abandonment. One of the things to keep in mind with premium processing, which costs almost $3,000, is that it does not move you forward in the priority date queue line. It does not, if you're here in the US, it does not get you closer to filing a 485 or closer to getting an EAD card. Recall that your priority date is established when you file your case, not when you're approved. However, when you throw in the issue of cases being abandoned, and you want to ensure that you'll retain your priority date if you are abandoned. So we've got someone who's thinking in a fairly cynical way, but I like that. I'm kind of a cynical person myself. Premium processing would ensure you could recapture your priority date if you're already approved. But other than that, premium, there's no reason to premium your case. For people who are recapturing earlier priority dates, employers will often premium those because you're already eligible to move forward as soon as you get approved. But aside from that situation, premium is not the particular route to go.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that.
I need to just clarify one thing that Mike said. I've known Mike for nearly 30 years, and I would not say that he's cynical. I would say he's an optimist. Other than that, I agree with almost everything he said.
I agree with you. I think we love having Mike on the show. He's always so positive energy, and Chris as well. But thanks for that, Chris. I love how we make this the levity that we bring to somewhat serious questions that are coming our way. So thank you so much to both of you. Chris, you had mentioned an update on H-1B. Can we go back to that? And can you give us your update? Any update on the proclamation that we saw? I think it was December or January of this year.
Yeah. So let's maybe let's go through that. I think that's a good idea, Deirdre. So the first thing is, and I think this is important to start with, the H-1B is not available for all nurses. In fact, it's probably not even available for most nurses. But there is a tier of nurse or a class of nurse that can take advantage of the H-1B normally. And broadly speaking, that nurse has to be offered a position in the United States where that position requires a bachelor's degree. And the reality is about 75% of US nurses hold bachelor's degrees, which means that there are a lot of nursing positions in the United States that do not require a bachelor's degree as the entry position. So first thing to keep in mind, it's not really about your criteria, although you do need to have a BSN. It's about the position that's being offered to you in the United States, and that position has to require a bachelor's degree. Okay, that's step one. Step two, in September of 2025, so about, about 9 months ago, President Trump said all H-1Bs, not just nurses, not just med techs or other healthcare, allied healthcare workers or doctors, every single H-1B, if the worker is overseas at the time the petition is filed, then the H-1B is effectively not allowed to be processed unless the employer is willing to pay $100,000 US dollars over and above any immigration fees. And my understanding is that fewer than 100 employers have actually done that, and they've almost all been done high-level executives and technology workers, that there's virtually been none, maybe there's actually been none in healthcare. So the question then becomes, is what's the status of this $100,000? And the first thing is the proclamation came in September of 2025. It is a 1-year proclamation, but it could be extended. It could be modified at any time. It would need to be extended next September. Will that happen? The real answer that I'm hearing is that nobody's really considering what to do yet in the administration. They haven't decided to extend it. They haven't decided to let it lapse. They haven't decided to extend it, but with some modifications. I'm not sure those conversations have, well, my understanding is those conversations haven't really begun in any sort of earnest manner. There are also 3 ongoing lawsuits. The first one, which is probably the most important one, is U.S. Chamber of Commerce. That was filed in Washington, D.C. The preliminary court, the trial court in December, said that what the president was doing was legally acceptable. That case has been appealed. The appeals court heard the case about 2 months ago, and we are expecting a decision on that case before July 1st is the expected timeline. Theoretically, it could come out this afternoon, or it could come out anytime over the next about 6 weeks. When that decision comes down, it will likely, not guaranteed, but likely either say the original court was correct and the $100,000 fee can stay in effect, or it will say that fee was improper and the president was not allowed to do that, in which case that will put us back to where we were, which will mean H-1Bs will largely be available for nurses. That doesn't end it, because the administration could appeal that decision. The administration could try and issue a somewhat similar proclamation at some point in the future that maybe cures any issues that the judges would say. But so the next big mark is to look over the next 1 to 6 weeks for a decision on that appeal. And we'll see what that is. There's also 2 other lawsuits. My sense is that those 2 other lawsuits are sort of being slowed down, waiting for the decision in this appeal. I don't think you're seeing that's what officially is happening. That's just my somewhat informed read over the situation. And so that's Deirdre, that's the status of H-1Bs as of May 15th, 2026.
Thank you. So I can't believe it was September 2025. Time is going so quickly and there's so much happening. So thank you for that, Chris. So basically, H-1Bs for nurses are not as plentiful as EB-3 opportunities anyway, just due to the job description and your personal qualifications. But it's a long game, and we'll keep you updated as we have more information. So someone's asking for a WhatsApp number. So we will make sure that, Mohammed, I know that you reached out to us, and we'll have one of our recruiters reach back out to you and answer all of your questions. So thank you for that. So Mike, we have a question on aging out. So dependents that are aging out. So we're saying that the process for an approval is approximately 2 years right now. So if we have audience members that are thinking about filing an I-140 right now, but they have a child that is 18, maybe 19, what's your advice there? Could they age out, and can that age be, for want of a better word, recaptured? I don't know if I'm using the right term, but can that date be frozen?
Yeah, so a couple things. First of all, age out is one of the more complex issues in this scenario that we're dealing with healthcare workers. And it's very individualized, and you're going to want to, you can listen to these general things I'm going to tell you, but you're going to want to speak to your attorney about these specifics. So, but here are some general statements. Filing an I-140 does not freeze your child's age. Filing an I-140 gives you a priority date, but it does not freeze their age. Okay? So people who are like, I've got to get this filed before my child turns 21, it has absolutely nothing to do with it. The second thing that's the general rule that happens all the time is that the longer your I-140 is pending, that time gets added onto your child's 21st birthday to determine when they actually age out. So if your I-140 if you don't have a priority date to recapture and you've got a child over 18, you do not want to premium process your I-140. That will actually harm you rather than help you. retrogression, and this is the third general point, retrogression can create age out. That's the main thing that creates age out. It's not a processing issue. You're not protected because your child aged out while you're waiting in the queue. That's actually what happens. So again, if you have a child that's 18, maybe even 17 right now, you need to let your attorney, account manager know so that they can take every step they can possibly to try to protect that child. But one of the easiest things is just don't premium your case. That at least helps.
Thank you so much, Mike. And I know that's a question we get a lot, and if our recruiters get that a lot as well. And we take the time to make sure that you have all of the information that you need before making a decision. So please, Mike said that he can give you general information, but again, it will come down to your personal circumstance. So make sure that you are speaking to your recruiter, your case manager, or your personal attorney before making any decisions. So thank you for that, Mike. Chris, we're going to switch gears again a little bit. We have a question from, this was actually pre-submitted, a candidate who is here in the US on an F1, but wants to get a green card. What are his options for doing so?
Well, I'm going to presume that they have a nursing license and that they have the visa screen either completed or very close to be completed, or any of the other competitive visa certificates, healthcare worker certificates. The first thing is they need to find a good employer. I would probably talk to Deirdre and talk to the AMN team to explore what your options might be available. Conceivably, there might be an option available for you to do an I-140. Conceivably, there might be an option available to do an H-1B. But the first step is to find an employer and then the employer to work with a lawyer to see what options are going to be specifically available to you. And again, if it's nursing, you're going to need a nursing degree and to have passed NCLEX, certainly.
Thank you so much, Chris. And we do have at AMN, we do have opportunities if you are currently an F1 visa holder and meet all the requirements that Chris just talked about. So please reach out to us. We're going to put the handle up again, amnhealthcare.com/international. Our recruitment team is on hand, ready to help you. And so please submit your application today, and we'll make sure that we prioritize that for you. So we have a lot of people joining, just joining right now. So Mike, there's a couple of questions regarding paused countries and getting embassy appointments. If someone has an embassy appointment, but they are from one of the paused countries, not the banned country, we'll have a follow-up question on that. Should they attend the embassy interview?
For the paused countries, we are recommending, yes, attend your interview. The paused country interviews that we've seen, they've all been issued 221Gs, being told that we will let you know what happens next. Whether that means you go in for a new interview, whether they simply ask for additional information, whether they can make a decision based on what they already have. It seems to me that if the public charge information comes out and you're a single person and they already know what salary you're going to be earning in your job, they can probably make a decision without having you re-interview. We don't know. We're guessing. But for the 75, we are encouraging you to go to your interview. We think there's no reason to cancel the interview.
Thank you so much, Mike. Chris, same question, but for those that are from one of the countries that is on the banned list.
Yeah, I think unfortunately with the banned list, my unfortunate expectation is that this banned list is likely going to continue perhaps for the length of the Trump administration. We aren't really seeing the interviews move with any sort of speed or anything like that. If it's convenient for you, I guess I don't see much of a downside in going, but for the most part, we're suggesting that there's probably no point in going as long as you are on the ban list.
Thank you so much. Chris, there is another question for you. I know that you've taken this many, many times, but do you have any update on HWRA at this point?
Yeah, I probably should have mentioned that. Well, yeah. So on HWRA, that bill is what that bill seeks to do is take an influx of 25,000 nurse visas to put into the EB3 green card quota. It's a one-time kind of shot in the arm. There's other parts to it, but the most relevant part is this. I know that the bill, as of 2 weeks ago, is still being very actively discussed in Congress. It wouldn't surprise me to see some news come out in the next, say, 60 days, maybe 90 days on it. I don't want to get everybody's hopes up. I'm just simply saying that there may be some news on it because I know it's being actively discussed. Having said all that, any legislation in this U.S. Congress is extraordinarily difficult. The Democrats and Republicans don't seem to agree on much, and it's virtually 50-50 in both the House and the Senate, which means one side can basically block the other. And then on top of that, U.S. immigration legislation is like the hardest kind of legislation. And the only policies that are maybe as hard as immigration legislation get passed is healthcare immigration. And so we've got these two very difficult issues in a very difficult Congress. So I don't want to get everybody's hopes up that anything with HWRA is going to move, or it's going to move anytime fast. That's the bad news. The good news is I know it is very regularly, every week or two, it is being actively discussed by congressional staffers to try and figure out a way to get some additional visas into the system for healthcare, because there are a lot of rural facilities in particular in America that are really struggling with workforce, in particular in the nursing realm. So some bad news with some potential chance of good news. The only other thing I would say is, I've been working on these kinds of issues for a long, long time, and we often see no progress, and then it moves very fast. So I think it could move fast at some point, but I absolutely do not want to get anyone's hopes up that anything's going to happen imminently.
Thank you, Chris. So good that it's still being discussed, but just like Chris said, nothing happens very, very quickly. The entire immigration process can be lengthy. I did it myself many, many years ago. I'm originally from Ireland and came here. Won't say how many years ago. Don't want to age myself, but many, many years ago. And it was lengthy, and it can be very challenging. But what I can tell you is that it is definitely worth it. And you forget the amount of time that it took once you get to those final stages. So hopefully that inspires someone, that helps someone. But many people who work at AMN International are immigrants themselves and have firsthand knowledge and experience that can help you. So Mike, there's a lot of questions coming in about different visas, and just to get clarification, the one I have two questions. Nana is asking if she has a B1, B2 visa, can she relocate and file for that status to be changed to a green card? So before we answer that question, can you what is a B1/B2 visa?
Yeah. So let me get to that answer, but let me just add in that the answer Chris gave for the legislation was a spectacular answer and significantly better than the Chris impersonator who was on the webinar last month. So, but a B1, B2 is a tourist visa, visitor visa. The B1 part is a business side of it, and the B2 is a tourist side of it. It's depending on what country you're from, you come in for 90 days. Other countries, it can be as long as 6 months. So the idea is you have to have a specific reason. I'm coming in, I'm going to my cousin's graduation in May, and I'm going to stay around and visit family and travel, and then I'm coming home. So there's a specific. You're supposed to have a return flight, and you make a representation legally and personally when you come in as to what your intentions are. And that is a representation that's important with what the next that I have to say is. You are then asking, can I seek to do an adjustment of status? So you now find an employer, get them to file an I-140 for you, and maybe you have a current priority date now, which would be unlikely the way the visa bulletin is today. But maybe you have an old priority date, and then you become current, and then you ask to adjust your status. What you're then doing is you're indicating that I intend to immigrate. So I no longer intend, I made this representation that I'm only going to visit and I'm leaving at a certain point in time. And now you're saying, no, that's not true. I'm going to, in fact, immigrate. I generally, unless there are extremely unusual circumstances that occurred after you got here, generally do not advise that. Most of my clients will not support that type of filing because they believe they are contributing to you making a misrepresentation and a fraudulent filing. I would not consider coming in as a B1, B2 as a path to immigrate. I think that is a mistaken way to view it.
Thank you very much, Mike. Chris, we have a question from Sane, and I hope that I am pronouncing your name correctly, surrounding national interest exemptions. And is it possible that they could be considered for nurses from banned countries?
Seems unlikely to me, unfortunately, is the short answer, Deirdre. I'd love that to be the answer. I don't see that kind of exemption being used for a broad classification like nurses, given the current president.
Thank you very much. Mike, another visa type question. This came in a little bit ago, and forgive me, I don't have the name of who asked this question, but they are asking about an F4 for nationals from India. What's an F4?
Well, typically an F4 would be a family-based category. F stands for family, just like the EB stands for employment-based. And the fourth category, I don't do a lot of family cases, and that would be read as none. But I think fourth is brothers and sisters, but I have no information about that. And it may not even be brothers and sisters. I don't know. I assume the line's really long, though. Chris, do you know more about F4s than I do?
Yeah, no, I know about what Mike knows, including that it's really long. I mean, if you file for a family, I'm just cheating here. I'm looking on the internet. The visa bulletin final action date for F4 Indians is November of, and I hope everybody's sitting down, 2006. So that is basically 20 years. So you file, so you would, and the way you would qualify for that is your brother or sister would be an adult U.S. citizen, so they'd be over 21. So they are, and then they file for your F4, sometimes we call it FB4, immigrant visa. And it's like FB4 is like EB2 or EB3, it's just another immigrant visa category. And our office or Mike's office or whoever could file it today. And I probably wouldn't buy a plane ticket anytime soon, but you could be called in something like 2046 for your immigrant visa appointment.
Wow, 20 years. Okay, so again, forgive me, I do forget who asked that question, but we get lots of questions around different types of visas, so I think it's important to explain what those are and if you do qualify for them, but most importantly, the processing timeline. So thank you for that. Mike, Gail is asking, do you think the date of filing will move before the current fiscal year ends?
The answer is no. Generally speaking, we're talking about we already have the June bulletin, so we only have 3 bulletins left. And generally, we're not going to see the date for filing move this late in the year. at this time of year, we would generally see the final action date move a little closer to the date for filing chart. This year has obviously been an unusual year, but I do not see it moving. I would like to see the USCIS honor the date for filing chart at one of these next couple of months before the new year starts. But right now, they're only honoring the final action date chart.
Thank you. Okay, thanks for that question, Gail. We have time for a couple of more questions. And did I just lose it? Nope. Susan is asking, and this will be for Chris, can you explain CSPA criteria? What is that? What does CSPA stand for?
Oh, that's sorry. Yeah. So the CSPA, sorry, I thought you said the SPA, but the CSPA is the Child Status Protection Act. If you're listening to this, you might want to rewind back about 30 minutes. I think Mike talked a little bit about the CSPA. A couple of things to know about it. First of all, you definitely want to talk to an immigration attorney. Here's who might be concerned about a CSPA. It stands for Child Status Protection Act. If you're a nurse, and let's say you're an adult, you're an adult nurse, or you're, 30, 40s, whatever, and you have a child who is approaching the age of 21, let's say they're 17, 18, 19, 20, then the CSPA is something that you are going to want to at least be aware of. There's nothing actually you need to do, but what it does is it says that for the duration that your I-140 is pending, they will add that period of time to your child's age before they age out of the visa process. So here's practically how it would work. Oh, by the way, a child ages out of the visa process when they turn 21. So if the child is, let's say, 18, they have 3 years for your I-140 to be approved and you to get your green card. As long as that happens, the child is eligible to receive a green card as a derivative of your nurse green card. However, if it takes your case 3.5 years before you have your immigrant visa interview, then it's 3.5 years. The child would then be 20 years and 6 months, and therefore the child would be ineligible unless your I-140 was pending for more than that 6-month period of time under my example. And why would the 6 months apply? To sort of make your child eligible to get their green card at 21 years and 6 months because of the Child Status Protection Act.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And to Chris's point, we've covered a lot today. So if you are just joining in the last few minutes, highly encourage you to log on to our Facebook site, YouTube, etc., and rewatch the show for today. We covered a lot. We talked a lot about the paused/suspended countries, banned countries, age outs, H-1Bs, etc. So I know that we have a lot of questions that are coming in if you have just joined recently, but we did cover that already in today's show. So please go back and listen to that. And if you have any questions, you will still be able to pop them into the chat. So we are almost at time for our expert panel. So as we do every month, we're going to ask Mike and Chris what their projections are for the next visa bulletin and maybe the fiscal year. We talked a lot about it, but again, for those who have newly joined, we'll cap us off today with the projections. So I'll start with Mike. We don't have a crystal ball, but we can go back and look at that later. So Mike, over to you.
Yeah, I would say my crystal ball would say for the rest of this fiscal year that we will see little to no movement, possibly even retrogression for Philippines and then some other categories that are not healthcare related categories. It's not unusual in the summer. It just means that they've used up their allotment for the year, which may sound bad because you see retrogression on the chart, but in reality, that's a good thing. Think about it. If they own the way the government system works for immigrant visas is they have a certain allotted number. And if they do not pass them all out and approve them all, those are wasted. So let's pretend we've got 10,000 If they only give out 9,000, the line may still look like, the dates are still current or whatever, but that's a bad thing because that means 1,000 are wasted. We'd all rather have unavailability in August and September and know they gave out all 10,000. Overall, as we look at this big picture, that's a much better system. So do not view a unavailability at the end of this year as a negative.
Thank you, Mike. And finally, over to Chris. And I do want to say your representatives for the last couple of shows were absolutely amazing. They were a pleasure to have on the show, very knowledgeable. And I know that, so you can pass on our thank you to both of them as well. So Chris, your projections or predictions for next Visa Bulletin and possibly the remainder of the fiscal year.
Yeah, I think Mike and I are almost, I mean, we're in harmony on this. I don't really have much to add from what Mike said. I think we're likely not to see much progression in the foreseeable future, but come next fiscal year, we'll see. But there are some of these exceptions that Mike alluded to that could conceivably help a little bit.
Thank you both so much. So that was our final question for our expert panel today. We do have some more topics that we're going to discuss for the last few minutes of the show. But I would like to thank both Mike and Chris for joining us today and all of that amazing information and advice. And we look forward to seeing you next month. Have a wonderful week.
Thanks,
Thanks, everybody. Bye now.
Thank you. Okay, so lots and lots of great information there today. Some very technical in nature. So please, if you do have the opportunity to go back and listen again, pop any other questions that you have in. We do these shows every single month. So it is, I know that we've got viewers that join routinely. We may have some that are joining us for the first time, but hopefully that was very helpful to you. And I do want to take just the last few minutes to talk about some questions that have come in specific to requirements, et cetera, to qualify for opportunities at AMN Healthcare International. So as a reminder, AMN Healthcare International is the only organization that offers both direct hire and staffing opportunities. So we have teams of expert recruiters who are on hand to help you take the first step in submitting your application. We'll talk through what our requirements are. And if you do not qualify right now, the really great thing is that we're going to give you a roadmap on how you can. So we are here to help you. We want to make sure that you have all of the information, the most current information. But right now we are looking for NCLEX passers who are currently working in an acute care setting at the bedside. You do need a minimum of 1 year experience. So if you are listening in today and you have those requirements, then please submit your application to us today. We also have a couple of questions that have come in from a number of you that are listening in today and are in the unfortunate position where your job offer has been rescinded and you are asking if you can come work with AMN Healthcare International. We would love to hear from you. So please reach out to us. We have opportunities again in both direct hire and staffing, and we want to make this just a pause for you. All right. So we're hearing that across the industry that job offers are being rescinded, but we can recapture your I-140. So we have an expert immigration team on our staffing side. Everything is done in-house. So with over 40 years of experience, we are experts at recapturing priority dates and most importantly, navigating retrogression. So that's going to be very, very important to you as you consider what your next steps are going to be. So please reach out to us today. We do have a slide on how to really put your best foot forward in presenting your application. So how do you make it stand out? First and foremost, pass NCLEX. I believe almost everybody who is listening in would already have done that. What specialty you are, years of experience, and the hospital type, right? So make sure that that is front and center. Your current work experience in an acute care setting. That is a requirement. That's what our hospital clients are looking for right now. Highlight any qualifications and degrees that you have. Put that front and center. If you have a bachelor's, if you have a master's, we want to know so that we can prioritize your application for clients who are looking for that type of experience. And last but not least, English language. So when you look at the urgency and importance of passing your NCLEX, you need to put the same urgency and prioritization on passing your English, because it is just as important. So you saw pass NCLEX was there at the top and English was there at the bottom. But if we could do that little switch, I would have both side by side. It is very important. And I also had a question that came in. What should I do to prepare when we're in this season of retrogression? Well, the first thing is you need to pass your NCLEX, which I believe most of you have. The second thing is prioritize preparing and passing for your English exam. I cannot stress enough how important that is. And, you know, it's human nature that sometimes we don't want to do the hard thing first, but if there's one word of advice that you take from us today is do it first, because when that visa bulletin starts to move again, and you heard our expert attorneys, it may not happen next month, it may not happen for the rest of the fiscal year, but it is going to happen. And once that happens, you want to be ready. So AMN International, we do provide you with an English preparation course. We do partner with an organization called Niner. And if we pull up the slide, we do have some education sessions and practice sessions on the first and the third Monday of every single month. So that is our AMN Academy, and you can listen in and get tips and tricks on how you can be successful passing that all-important English exam on your first attempt. So please, if you have not had the opportunity to do that, please tune in on the first Monday and the third Monday of each month. Those classes, those shows are invaluable. You get a lot of tips and tricks, not only from the Niners instructors, but also from clinicians, nurses, healthcare professionals who are in the same position as you. They're in the same boat. And so we're all in this together. That preparation course is free of charge to you. So AMN Healthcare International pays for that on your behalf to make sure that you have the best start possible and that you are prepared for that when you do sit that English exam. So I do want to really make sure that that is something that we get out there very, very soon. It is just as urgent and just as important as your NCLEX preparation. And now, yes, that was my puppy, my dog. He's normally very, very good, but here we are. He's just started to act up at the very tail end of our show. So I do apologize for that. But yes, we are live and things like this happen. And there must be someone delivering something in my neighborhood. And that's what happened. So I do apologize for that. So yes, that is going to be our show for today. I hope that you all took a lot of great advice from both Chris and Mike, who are here with us every single month. They are experts at what they do. They have been doing this for many, many, many years. And we're just so honored that they choose to be with us every single month and share their expertise with us. So while we did not see the visa bulletin move this month, you heard our attorneys, it wasn't expected. It wasn't a surprise. So every month we will come with our immigration show and give you the latest and greatest so that we can be sure that you are up to speed and that you have got the most current information that will arm you with making your next decisions and taking the next step on coming here to the United States. So again, if we did not get to all of your questions, we do apologize. We'll be in there routinely throughout today to answer as many as we can. Again, I do apologize for the interruption with my puppy in the background. We'll make sure to secure him for the next time, so that's not a distraction for us. But again, thank you for all of the questions. Susan, thank you so much. Susan says, thanks so much for this great info. Can't thank you enough. We can't thank you enough for choosing to spend this hour with us every single month to really learn and understand about what's happening in the immigration space, because it's there's a lot going on right now. It's very, very fluid, and we want to make sure that you have the most up-to-date information. So thank you again. If you have any questions, concerns, if you are waiting on answers or responses from us, we will get to you as soon as we can. If we did not get to your question, we do apologize, but we will have another show next month where you can ask all of your questions. And until then, have a wonderful week. We are going to leave you with a video just celebrating all of you, our international nurses, that we celebrated International Nurse Day earlier this week. So we want to leave you with, I hope you will see a heartwarming video just from all of us here at AMN Healthcare International, expressing our thanks to you, not just on International Nurse Day, but absolutely every day. And Kim Chupa has asked, can she get a puppy? Yeah, I'm sure you can, but it's a lot, as you can probably tell. Very, very sporadic, things that happen when you have a puppy. But we are going to leave you with that video. Again, happy International Nurses Day, happy Nurses Month. Thank you for joining us today, and until next time, onwards and upwards.
This International Nurses Day, I wanted to talk about something that's very personal to me, the impact of international nurses. I started my own nursing journey outside the United States, and I know what it means to leave home, to arrive in a new country, to learn a new culture, new systems, all while learning new ways of care. International nurses don't just bring clinical skills, they bring resilience, adaptability, and most of all, they bring heart.
Thank you for everything you do for your patients and their families and your community.
I'd like to thank all the nurses around the world for their dedication to patient care.
We are grateful and appreciative of your dedication to make a meaningful difference.
Your hard work, your dedication, your compassion to all of those who you care for.
For your strength that makes big difference in so many lives every day.
Your caring and your understanding to all those patients that you serve.
You are the heart of healthcare.
Your commitment to providing excellent care and to all of the people that you support.
The care you provide, the comfort that you bring.
Your sacrifice gives us strength to keep going.
The world is healthier and kinder because of you.
And we want to thank you
for your love, for your patience, for your intelligence.
Your care and commitment make a real difference in the lives of so many people.
Your skills and kindness make a lasting difference in countless lives every day.
Today we celebrate the backbone, the heart and soul of our healthcare system, nurses.
We appreciate you today and every day.
We're here to honor you, our amazing nurses from all over the world who heal and support us.
You are truly the heart and soul of healthcare.
Know that AMN International deeply respected, appreciated, and celebrated you today and always.
Remember that we are here with you every step of the way.
Never forget how powerful international nurses are.
International nurses remind us that compassion has no accent, that care has no borders, and that nursing connects the world.
To all amazing nurses,
salamat sa pag-atiman o pag-amuma sa mga katawhan na nagkinahanglan sa inyong serbisyo.
أسبوع ممرضين سعيد نتشكركم دائما على كل شيء بتسووه كل يوم.
En este Día Internacional de la Enfermería, le queremos dar gracias a nuestras enfermeras, no solo por su dedicación a su profesión, pero también a sus pacientes.
Feliz Dia Internacional de Enfermagem. Obrigado por tudo que vocês fazem.
Thank
you all so much for the amazing work that you do.
Happy
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 Happy Happy
Nurses Day and saludo kami sa inyo.